Good afternoon, Julius. Thank you for taking the time to be here on Reseller Roundup today. I know we had talked previously about certain stuff regarding you and your store, but there's a lot of people out there who do not know who you are and exactly what's going on. So if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. I'm a UK-based seller. I've been selling on eBay since 2000 and Amazon since 2006. I've got about 330,000 feedbacks on eBay and about 120,000 over all of the Amazon platforms. So fairly experienced, and I, I'm always at the coalface when something seems to happen. This is the reason why we're speaking.
Yeah. So we have you on right now because there's a lot of changes that are happening. Now, you've been playing with the eBay catalog itself for a long time, well before this fall seller update was announced. But with this fall seller update coming out, I noticed some very interesting verbiage and the fact that more people are going to have to be using this in September. And pretty much they're making it mandatory across many different categories within eBay. Now, you yourself have had some very large problems. I've been watching your story for several weeks now. For those who don't know, what is going on with your catalog, right now, and also your store? It's the Lupo store. Tell us a little
That's
bit
correct.
about your brand as well.
Okay, so I started my own brand of simple products, day-to-day things you might need. They vary from dog whistles to callus shavers to bicycle accessories. Simple things we sell, things which don't go in and out of fashion, and hopefully I'll be selling for the next 20 years. That's my USP. But essentially, I mean, in the UK, we've been using, especially on Amazon, to list your products. You list via product identifier, which in Europe is the barcode number, the EAN, which is in Europe 13 digits. In the US, it's a UPC, unique product code,
Universal?
which is universal or unique. I can't remember which one. 12 digits. We just had an extra digit on there. I don't know why, but they're both referred to.
Well, it's the European way to have things just a little more complicated.
Yeah, exactly. So essentially, the situation is that these are referred to as a GTIN, Global Trade Identification Number, I believe. Now, I've been putting these on my eBay store for about 5 years. Now, I don't know if it was the same for .com, but in the UK, eBay had a big problem with Google in about May 2015, whereby Google basically downgraded eBay because Google said to eBay, listen, we want you to have product identifiers so that they can go into Google Shopping, people can see the products within there categorized on our catalog against other people via the product identifiers, i.e. the GTIN, the UPC in the US and the EAN in Europe. And eBay said, no, we don't want to do that because we're eBay. And they said, okay, fine, we'll downgrade you. So eBay then got downgraded, then went back, tailed next to Google and said, well, we can't have this. We'll implement this catalog which you request. So they did, and since then, eBay has become a much better marketplace. So in some respects, Google playing the big bully has vicariously helped eBay. So myself, my products are boosting sales over the last 18 months because of the eBay product reviews. So
Okay,
they were
you were
selling
breaking up
very,
there for
very
a second. You
well.
said you've been losing sales for 18
Oh,
months
I've
now.
been I've been been gaining
Oh,
sales
gaining sales. Okay.
due to gaining sales because of product reviews. They came onto the platform in the UK, I think, around November 2016.
And believe it or not, here domestically, there is a absolute ton of pushback against eBay's catalog. And I've been saying when it's done correctly and it is used the way it's meant to be used, it can be a very powerful tool for sellers, but the thing is it's different types of sellers that are going to view this differently. Someone like yourself who, may have, 1,000 different items, but you have quantity of several thousand on each one, building
Yeah,
up that long-term, customer connection and the reviews and all of that is very beneficial for specific people like yourself. But for people
exactly.
like us who are selling one-off items, utilization of that catalog, it can be very complicated, very time-consuming.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just that there is a sharp difference between different types of sellers and their perceptions of it. But I can agree with you. That change that happened 5 years ago where Google was being a bully. We all remembered that here on our end. I even had to bring in extra staff to help us go through and grab all the UPCs on all of our items that were marked new and get that placed in. It took 40 to 80 hours worth of
Yeah.
work to update to be in line with what eBay had requested at the time, because a lot of
I
us
mean,
sellers, we have a
ironically,
thousand different SKUs.
yeah. I mean, I had all of them already, and I'd already pushed all the information out onto eBay since about 2012. So I had all of the aspects already there, but it was just the fact that Google downgraded eBay adversely affected my sales. But nevertheless, my sales were really booming because I was managing to gain more reviews than other people selling similar kind of products. But then around 12 months ago, exactly, this was when eBay were going through the process of grouping listings. Uh, one or two products stopped selling. And now I think that the whole reason for the fact that eBay were doing the grouped product pages, and this is just a hypothesis of mine, was because I think Google said to them, look, this is really good that you're doing the catalog, you're having products which are going onto Google Shopping, but people don't want to see, the same product and to see retailer A, retailer B, retailer C, and then 25 different offerings from eBay. We want just one eBay offer, and then people will go into that one eBay offer, and that one eBay offer will be the eBay grouped product page. So therefore, we have a situation where eBay is being forced to have a slight sort of hybrid between old eBay, partly auctions, partly buy it now, and this sort of, we don't want to be Amazon, but we're going to have this bolt-on grouped product page where somebody can search for, let's just say, iPad Air or something like that, and they'll go in there and you'll be able to filter all of the iPad Airs on one page and choose which person you want to buy from. So that's my hypothesis of what happened. But been outperforming the market in gaining reviews, and as a positive effect of that, I was going to the top of best match. What I found is that I had some unscrupulous sellers wanting to copy my product identifiers to just piggyback onto my reviews because they couldn't be bothered to get their own reviews, or weren't any good at getting good reviews, or were just trying to sell an inferior product and pass it off as mine.
And what I want to interject here for those who aren't familiar with Lupo Store is that we're talking about items that might have a sale price of anywhere from 6 to 12, dollars, pounds, etc.
Yeah,
And they're small priced items, but we're not talking about selling 5, 10, 100. We're talking listings where he has sold several thousand units of the same exact item and has garnered anywhere between 5 to 10 reviews, and some listings I've seen up to 100 reviews on
yeah,
a specific product. So when you
exactly.
go to eBay and you look for an item and you can say, okay, item A is $10, but item B is $12, but has 100 4.5-star ratings, even if the other one doesn't have any ratings and it's $2 cheaper, you're going to go ahead and click on that second one first. And this is what's happened is he's moved his listings very far up in Best Match because enough people are converting. He can show thousands of units sold, hundreds of positive reviews, and it's created this snowball effect where you could literally sell 100,000 of these units over the course of your lifetime, just based on the traction that it's already gained so far. You can sell an unlimited number of these, and you've worked to get them to that point.
You've hit the nail right on the head. It's the social proof of people saying, well, everybody else likes that product. I'm going to go with that product because that's a safe bet, as opposed to that other product, which is a bit cheaper, which doesn't have the reviews.
Exactly, 100%. And yeah, we shop like that as consumers. We want that safety net. And I would say that those consumer reviews, those peer reviews, are more important than a seller's actual feedback rating, as a whole. Because we can make that connection of trust on a particular item and say he hasn't screwed this item up, so I can feel good about going for that.
You are 100% right, and that is because I know, to my detrimental effect of what happened last year. So in August last year, I had one of my products all of a sudden overnight had lost its reviews. And then about a week later, another one lost all of its reviews.
And these are items that you've sold thousands of, correct?
Exactly. And then at the start of September, a third one lost all of its reviews. And I wasn't quite sure what was happening on the first and the second one. I didn't know if it was just a little glitch and that. I opened up a little case with eBay Concierge, and then the third one happened, and I thought, this is like some kind of concerted kind of attack against me or something like that. So it stayed at three products where they'd lost all of the reviews. All of a sudden, they just stopped selling. Then about, I remember this very clearly because I'd taken my wife to Paris for our 10th wedding anniversary, and it was September 22nd last year, and we were in Paris, and literally over that weekend, I lost 1,000 reviews on 55 of my best-selling listings over that weekend, and I was literally on the phone to eBay for about 4 hours whilst I was supposed to be taking my wife to restaurants and such like. It sort of ruined the whole weekend.
Oh yeah, no, I can imagine. Yeah, but losing that amount of volume of reviews, it's almost, I'm sure, the same feeling as getting fired from your day job. That hit to the gut, that loss of revenue. So let me ask, because this is the $100,000 question. What did this actually do to your business as a whole in regards to finances from one month to the next?
My sales dropped 80% overnight.
So do you mind quantifying that for people who don't know what amount of money we're actually talking about? Ballpark, maybe?
I probably lost about £1,000 a day sales, which is, about $1,400 current exchange rate.
Yeah, $1,400 US per day.
Because
of these reviews, and that's, I think, the thing that people need to understand, the power of these reviews. Because I don't think many people have had the opportunity to speak with somebody who's actually a Vero seller.
Yeah.
You own your own brand, and I think that's something that we didn't even touch base on earlier. But yeah, you own your own brand, your own product.
That's true.
Line.
Yeah.
It's the Lupo product line, and this is I think for some people it's the end goal to be a Vero member and to have your own line. And it's important to be able to safeguard your identity online. And that's really what the issue is right here, is that with this catalog and the fact that members are going to be able to start submitting revisions to these catalogs, and that the catalog information is so transparent, and that I can go to one of your listings and I can get all of the relevant catalog information right there on top without any type of authentication as far as who I am, without having to have some type of password entry system or anything. That information is just readily available to me. And I think it's almost, in my opinion, it's almost unnecessary for consumers to be able to see that information, because 99.999% of consumers are not making buying information or buying decisions based on GTINs or EPIDs or anything like that.
You're probably right. I'm probably 1%. I'm always checking that, but maybe that's because I'm not Joe Blogs on the street.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's
you're
the
a brand
situation.
owner banging out 50,000 a month in sales. It's a little bit different. So
Yeah,
let's go a little bit further into what's happening. We kind of started scooting that direction. You're saying you're
yeah,
having issues with your reviews falling off, and I've been following your YouTube channel. You've kind of come to some conclusions as far as what's happening.
yeah. So back in September, I mean, the most severe case was I had a product which was selling 900 units a month. That overnight it went from selling 900 units a month to 30 units a month. Yeah, literally like that. But the worst problem was I'd actually been buying the stock based on my stock levels I needed, based on 900 units a month. So within about 6 weeks, I'd already bought in stock which I needed based on my projected sales levels, but those sales were wiped. But by buying that stock in and it wasn't selling, all of a sudden I accrued a load of debts, because when you import, you'll have duty invoices to pay with, UPS, etc., things like that. And then in the UK, we have quarterly VAT tax returns to pay. Overnight, everything went really, really, really bad. So I mean, I spent a lot of time on the phone to eBay. Nobody really knew what the problem was. I even went onto Facebook, onto David Wennick's Facebook. I even sent him direct messages. I kept on tweeting to eBay's eBay Help Customer Relations in the US. Nobody was helping me. I was going to tweeting people who were involved in the catalog in the US. Nobody was responding to me. In the end, because and I might be lucky because I'm a concierge seller in the UK. We've got UK concierges based in Dublin, in Ireland, and there's about 60 people there. And maybe because I have an unusual name, everybody seems to know me. So I'm friendly with one or two of the managers there, and he got through to the manager, and he said, "Look, I'm not sure what's happening here, but I will contact somebody in the reviews team." So he contacted somebody in the reviews team, and they said, "We can't help you. We don't know what the problem is." So then he contacted somebody in a team which is called the Structured Data Team. Now, they are based in Israel. Now, I then managed to have a direct line to them, and they explained the whole issue to me. This had taken about 2 months to get to this stage, by which time my business was hemorrhaging funds and running out of cash very, very quickly. So the long and the short of it is, eBay has a product identifier, which is the EPID. So imagine it like an umbrella term. Below the EPID, you have the product identifier, the GTIN, which is in the US, which is the UPC, and in the UK, the EAN. But you also have images. You also have a manufacturer part number. You also have the title to a lesser degree. So if somebody is copying one or more of those elements, they can gain your reviews. Now, what was happening to me was more extreme, because I was having people copying my. Sorry, my dog's walked in.
That's fine.
I was having people copying my reviews for completely unrelated products. Take the dog out, please. So I was having people, I mean, for example, I've got beauty tools, and I was having people copying my product identifiers, my GTINs, for one of the variants of pairs of socks.
So basically, what they're doing is they're going in. They have access to this catalog. Like I said, it's very transparent, which is something that that I think could be changed, and we'll get to that here shortly. But so they're taking specific pieces of that product catalog and then applying it to their own listings, so that way it's in turn cloning those reviews and placing them onto their listings. And as we talked about earlier, the value of these reviews, it's that as you were saying, the social marketing aspect of it, that when you put up a new item, if I had the ability to take, black wallets, for instance, and I was able to list these up, and I had 1,000 of these, and I had the opportunity to list these up and immediately have 100 5-star reviews attached to this wallet, do you think I would have a higher chance of selling through these units quicker, opposed to just being the cheapest guy with black wallets online? So that's basically what's happening to you. People are hijacking your listing, and it's not just the fact that they're getting the reviews. The issue goes deeper, because as a Vero, as a rights owner yourself, people are taking your brand name too. The Lupo brand name is getting binded to these listings. So if people are having a poor experience with products, it could be either a counterfeit product, the wrong product entirely, an inferior quality product that's similar, and it affects the overall image of the Lupo brand. Now, obviously, eBay sellers aren't the most brand loyal shoppers out there, but in all honesty, as brands like yourself scale, you get to 1 million, 2 million, 5, 10 million. There's brands out there, private label brands that are doing $100 million a year in sales on Amazon, and people know those brand names, and they started right where you're at. So protecting that brand is a very, very big deal. I don't think people are catching that on the outside looking in.
I mean, I think for me, the issue was that for people who are using my product identifiers for completely unrelated products, like if I'm selling a 7-piece pimple remover toolkit and people are using it on a pair of ankle socks as part of a multi-variation, it was confusing eBay's catalog when it was going through this process of grouping the listings, and eBay was going, well, this product identifier, is it product A or is it product B? Which one is it? I'm not sure. Tell you what, let's not have any reviews on any of them, because we don't know.
So this is the root of the problem. The reviews, because they've been stolen, cloned, mimicked, whatever, the reviews are just getting dumped on the product. So you'll go one day, you'll have 100 reviews, be selling, as you said, 30 units a day. Okay, you're moving 900 units, a month through the system, and then overnight, all the reviews are gone. And in your example, if you're moving 900 units a month, and you just placed another order, and you go from doing 30, 900 a month to 30 in a day, now you've gone from purchasing 1 month worth of stock to purchasing 30 months worth of stock. And no one buys 30 months worth of stock in advance. It just doesn't happen. So that's the problem for those who didn't catch the math earlier. It's a dangerous situation to be in. And now that's just one product. You said you've been affected over that weekend on 50 products. So now imagine having 50 items that you have 30 months worth of stock on. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of essentially dead stock sitting around until the problem can actually get resolved. Or you play that game again where you slowly build up the reviews, but again, there's no way to safeguard them. How do you protect against that?
Well, what was happening was they were gaining the reviews again from historical purchases prior to them losing the reviews when I was still selling at volume. But the new reviews were going on and then coming off again. And it was a vicious circle. Now, I spoke to eBay, and eBay said, listen, we can't remove drop shippers because technically they are buying your product from Amazon. So those ones we can't remove. I said, fine, I don't mind that, because normally the drop shippers are double the price. I'm selling at. So they're a necessary evil. If they do sell any units, they'll buy from me anyway. And technically, they're selling the same product because they're matching the product identifiers. So for those ones, we can't do anything. But it was I'll have to say, it was virtually 95% Chinese sellers who were just copying my aspects, my barcode number, my EAN number, my own images. Title, they're allowed to copy word for word, so I couldn't do anything about the title. So essentially, because I'd been fast tracked to now speak to these people who were based in Israel, personally, I have an email address of a lady who I deal with specifically, manageress there. After November last year, I've only had 2 items which have lost their reviews, and if they have lost their reviews, then I would just pop her an email, say, look, it's happened again. She'll say to me, okay, I'll get them back on, give me 24 hours. But she works in this department, structured data department. There is a direct email address to that department, which will go through to her and all of her teammates. And that email address is SD support. So that's Sierra Delta support at ebay.com. So they are very good, but they did say that the issue is the reviews are attached to this EPID. So if any of your product identifiers are changed or other people are meddling and using your product identifiers on unrelated products or things like that, they say it's a very delicate ecosystem, and that can cause these reviews to be disassociated from your product. And this is the reason why I put these these videos on YouTube, because I thought, do you know what? I'm going through a nightmare here. I'm getting more grey hairs by the day. I don't need the stress. But is it just me who's dealing with this?
Yeah, I know for a fact there's somebody watching this right now, and they're just nodding their head. They're like, "Yep, preaching. You know, this guy's preaching to the choir. We need to get this word out, because it's not just so much
exactly."
about.
And this is why I put the YouTube videos on there. I didn't want anybody else to be in exactly the same situation as me, but not be in a situation where they could speak to concierge or be fast tracked, and they just did not have a clue. And I have had people contact me based on those reviews. I have put them in contact with the structured those YouTube videos. I've put them in contact with the structured data team, and it has solved their business.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. You know, the other end of it. You know, obviously, these Chinese sellers, they're out to make a buck. We get that, but the biggest problem is that they have enough power with the manipulation and the falsification of catalog entries, that they have the ability to essentially take down other sellers within competing categories that they're looking to sell within. And it's a very dangerous precedent if nothing is done to fix this. So let me ask you, okay, we kind of touched base and dabbled on the idea of, kind of locking down the catalog for, outside of those who don't need access to it. If you had an opportunity to speak directly to eBay, let's say an eBay representative watching this right now, what would you tell them, your suggestion to fix this problem so that other sellers don't have to deal with this?
So my suggestion to eBay is something similar to Amazon Brand Registry. So with Amazon Brand Registry, you can register a brand, and therefore your brand is ring-fenced, and people can't list against your brand. If I go and try and sell something, for example, I'll say a big brand, Sony or Philips or Apple, I would have to, first of all, provide proof to Amazon that I have purchased these items from an authorized reseller through authorized supply chains by way of proof of invoices, etc., stuff like that. So I would suggest to eBay that people like myself who are big enough to have their own private label brands, and also the much bigger companies, instead of being reactionary with Vero, having to then file notices of infringement, why can't we just say, look, we don't resell to anybody else, only we sell it. So anybody else using our product identifiers and such like are using them, incorrectly without our authorization. So therefore, why don't we just stop it from happening by making sure that they can't list against our product identifiers to start with, rather than having to be reactionary and then say, look, I've got to file, a Noki form with Vero to get people removed, which I do every day. And it's like whack-a-mole.
Yeah, no, and I understand. There's a couple of comments that I have to that. The first one is, I know on Amazon when you try and list something that you're not supposed to list, it'll prompt you and it'll say, hey, you can't be listing this, okay? Don't list it. You don't have the rights to list this. And those who sell on both eBay and Amazon understand that eBay works a little bit differently, where you can list the item, sell the item, ship the item, and then a week later get a notification saying, hey, you weren't supposed to do that. Don't do it again. But at that point, the entire process has gone through. So I know the question that my people that I work with are thinking right now when they heard your answer is, if you want to sell like an Amazon seller, why aren't you just selling on Amazon? Because there's a big pushback for a lot of eBay sellers who say, we don't want eBay to turn into an Amazon platform. We like eBay the way it is, and we don't want the two of them to become too similar. What would you respond to that?
No, we don't want them similar. Each marketplace has their own speciality, but there's certain aspects of each marketplace which are done better than the other marketplace. For example, eBay Concierge. I mean, I can speak to somebody, they know me personally because they're a tight team of about 40, 50 people. I ask them about their families, etc., stuff like that, and we're building a partnership together. Whereas on Amazon, it's very anonymous. But that aspect of Amazon where there is the gating of certain brands or categories is actually better than what eBay have, in my opinion. I can't understand why they have to employ certain people to go and put in these these Noki forms and actually have to go and work through these and remove all of these listings. I mean, and I must file about 10 or 15 of these per week with maybe 3 or 4 listings on each one. So they're taking down
and
about
you're just one person. You're just one
Yeah.
seller. And with all due respect, there's sellers out there that are doing 100x your volume and submitting 100 times as many forms that people are going to have to sit there and sift through. Now, me personally, my opinion doesn't matter too much on this, but my ideology and the thought process that I've pushed towards eBay and I've been hounding them with is to be able to give sellers like ourselves, responsible sellers who have been on the platform for 10 years, or more, or sellers who are doing real volume, or also have a trusted history of doing appropriate flagging. We flag listings, they get reviewed, they get pulled. We have maybe a 99% success rate on our flagging. To be able to have the ability to go in and just suppress down a listing, just be able to manually boom, 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 boom. We're going to suppress all of these and then have that submitted in and have them not visible until an eBay representative can see them, see why they've been suppressed, and then take action from there. That for me, because it would allow the community to fix the community's problem. There's so many times where eBay says, hey, just wait for us to fix the issue. But we as sellers, we want our platform to work the way it's intended to work. And I feel giving sellers more of that power could really do that.
I mean, for me, manually, I have to go and check each one of my product identifiers and then go and check, see if there's other people doing, copying my product identifiers. To have an automated system within eBay where I can go onto my seller hub and I can go and say, right, press this button, here's a list of all of my product identifiers, and I want to see all of the other item numbers for other sellers who are currently using my product identifiers.
Mm-hmm.
So I can identify them immediately.
So now let me just clarify too. Do you have any issues with someone clicking the sell one like this button and actually selling a Lupo product? They bought a Lupo product from you initially. They're not using a stock photo. They're using their own photo. They are using your title, but they're using your catalog listing as well. But they're doing everything in line. Do you have any issues with that?
If they've bought my product and they're reselling it because they bought it
They've
and
exhausted their use of it.
yeah, that's fine. Even if they've gone through a situation whereby they don't want to buy it, they don't want to return it, but it's gone past the return date and they can't return it for a remorse reason, and they decide to resell it, they can do so. That's up to them. I mean, and one or two times I've actually reported people and they've had their listings removed and they've come back to me and said, well, I actually bought it from yourself. And I said, okay, can you provide me proof of the purchase? And they have done. And then I've gone back to eBay and said, look, this person actually did purchase it from me. So anything which you've done to their account, any sanctions against their account, could you please remove them? Because I wasn't aware that they purchased it from me. How did I know?
Yeah. Yeah, it can be difficult sometimes with private label items because there are identical items floating out there. They're just being handled down through your brand. So let me ask, before I let you go, is there any other information regarding this that you feel needs to be out there for anyone who may be affected by this situation, or anyone who feels they may be affected by it in the future?
I mean, in essence, if you are in eBay Concierge, if you have this issue, you really need to flag it up to eBay Concierge. If you're not
And
on
what is concierge for those who don't know?
Concierge is for larger sellers. It's invite only. In the UK, I don't know for the US, but in the UK, I would say maybe 10% of sellers are concierge sellers. I do know in the US, I think you can become a concierge seller if you upgrade your shop, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure. But I do know that there's some new kind of program that if you upgrade your shop, then you become concierge. And the customer service on concierge is much better.
Is it like a direct line of access to a domestic rep?
It is.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So for me in the UK, we speak to people in Ireland, as opposed to non-concierge, we speak to people in the Philippines.
Yeah.
So, and it's a smaller, tight-knit group of people who you build up relationships with.
You can talk to the same person every time you call in if you want to.
Exactly.
So that's your advice for those who are doing volume. Get plugged into eBay Concierge, or at a minimum, maybe have a friend that has access to eBay Concierge. Because I'll tell you, making that direct call to eBay, I have maybe one or two contact numbers in my phone, and it took years to be able to establish direct lines of contact with eBay. And it's not going to be for everyone. You're not going to be getting assistance if you're that person who sells $1,000 a year on eBay. But if you're that person who's making leaps and strides, and you're pushing that volume and trying to take it to the next level, then I definitely think that's great advice.
I mean, the other advice I would give is if you don't have access to eBay Concierge, please, if you have a problem with regards to lost reviews, any problems with your structured data, just send an email to SD support, which is Sierra Delta support at ebay.com. And that's the specific team which is based in Israel who deal with the structured data.
Okay, that's absolutely fantastic advice. And we'll add all this information to the description dump at the bottom. So, Julius, before we wrap this up, people may be interested in getting in touch with you, your store. They may want to reach out to you for further questions. Maybe even themselves want to reach out to you. What is the best way for people to get in touch with you, or what information would you like to leave with?
My email address is info@luposstore.co.uk. My eBay store is lupo-store or lupo-store, whichever way you want to say it. You can also contact me on Facebook, or if you just search for Lupo Store, you can contact me on there. All those all those ways. In fact, my next business venture will be eBay consulting. I've just started
I think I might
eBay.
know a guy that
Yeah,
could handle the American end of things for you.
but I'll be honest with you. I've not had the time to really go into it. I've set up a Facebook group and set up Instagram for eBay Guru UK, but I've not had a chance to do it because at the moment eBay is going so well because the reviews are back. All of my products are selling again, but it did cost me about $35,000 of lost sales and plunged my business into a really bad cash flow situation, which took several months to come out of.
I am terribly sorry to hear about that. Maybe ask eBay for a one-time credit or 35,000 eBay bucks and see what they
I
say.
I did ask them for credits, and they did help me out with
Really?
regards to they knocked off something which was they said I didn't need featured plus on all of my listings, which saved me £300 per month, which is about $400 per month. So they said, look, take that off, and so that was saved. So that's about $4,800 a year saved on fees, and also they gave me 3 months of sponsored products for free.
Very nice.
So
So that'll definitely get you back on track. Oh, I'm happy to see that.
it did.
Yeah, eBay did the right thing and got you sorted out because as much as I say that eBay is a big platform for a lot of us smaller sellers, people selling one-offs and stuff like that, create a very unique and dynamic marketplace. It's people like yourself that keep the lights on for eBay as a whole. The big volume allows positive infrastructure changes and allows us to have access to richer features and customer service and stuff like that. There's definitely an imbalance between the amount of revenue that the top 10% of sellers are bringing in and then the bottom 90%. But it's a give and
Yeah.
take. The lower sellers, we create the unique and dynamic range, and the higher sellers like I said, keep the lights on.
I mean, it has been mooted in the UK that eBay wanted to have a seller council, and I was asked to be on this seller council, but then nothing came of it. So I don't know if this seller council ever became a reality. I think is a good idea because I really do think that certain sellers who concierge know and trust and bring good ideas to the table to positively change eBay would be good to get them around the table
Yeah, and,
once
and I
every
and,
two
and
months
I
or
was
so.
talking with you about this earlier. That there's certain sellers that are here to sell, and there's sellers like ourselves who are here to ensure the security, longevity, and viability of the platform moving forward. We have eBay's vested interest in mind,
Yeah,
year over year. That's really where we're at. So, Julius,
exactly.
I want to thank you so much for being
You're
on. I'd
welcome.
love to keep you longer. We're almost at an hour though, but yeah, thank you so much for being on, and I look forward to our next talk on this topic or many others moving forward.
Excellent. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.